PianoTechSupport here, welcome to another video. Today I want to cover the easiest Beethoven sonatas that you can learn. So if you're a beginner or an advanced pianist, or you just want to play a Beethoven sonata and you haven't played one yet, this is the video for you. If you have not ever played a classical sonata, however, I would probably recommend that you look at other composers like Clementi, Haydn, or Mozart, because generally speaking they have simpler works or easier works that you can look at if you're a beginner. With Beethoven there is a certain level. Even the easiest sonata from Beethoven is not that easy. So let's get started with the list. I prepared my sonatas here for you, and if you have any questions, leave a comment and I will gladly answer. Let's get started. The first sonata, or the first two sonatas, are from Opus 49. They're both only 2 movements long and they are named Leichte Sonate, which means easy sonata. They are very short, just take about 8 minutes, and were actually not published until later. Caspar Anton Karl von Beethoven, who was his brother, decided they were worthy of being published. So they were actually published without Beethoven fully agreeing at first. And yeah, they are very simple in structures. There's nothing technically challenging about them. Maybe the second movements are usually more challenging because of the tempo. You got some faster notes in the left hand, some runs, some scales maybe. But in my opinion, these are both quite easy sonatas. I mean, Beethoven named them easy sonata, and Opus 49 number 2 is a bit harder in my opinion, because you got more runs, more scales, and a bit more technical challenge, although this is really easy. So if you're a beginner and you want to learn a Beethoven sonata, Opus 49 is for you. It doesn't matter if 1 or 2. Then we have Opus 79, which is a sonatina, and sonatina just means small sonata, and it's actually famous for the Presto alla Tedesca. It has a low technical difficulty, is arguably musically more demanding than the Opus 49, but it is more of short. I mean, it's only 9 minutes long. It has 3 movements instead of 2, but it's mostly so to say a preparatory sonata, if you want. So this, I would not suggest this to be your concert piece, although of course you can perform it, but this is meant to be like a small sonata that actually prepares you for playing bigger works. And this is a great exercise in this case. And of course, the Presto alla Tedesca is famous, so you can also use it if you want to play a famous work that people can recognize. Then we have the Opus 14, which has 2 sonatas again, same like the Opus 49. We have 3 movements here in both sonatas, and Charles Rosen said that they are actually destined for the use at home because of their few technical difficulties. So what he was saying is that they are more like exercises, but I disagree. And also there's a comment from Andras Schiff that they are not that easy at all, and I have to agree with that. Especially Opus 14 number 1 is not that easy to interpret. So if you're looking for the easier sonata out of the Opus 14, then I would choose Opus 14 number 2, because it is definitely easier than the number 1. If you look at the 14 number 1, you can already see some fast runs, you got some arpeggios, some bigger chords, repetitions, longer scales. The rondo is quite fast. And in the Opus 14 number 2, you have the variations in the second movement, which need you to work on character, and you need to work on being expressive, and all this kind of work that you have not previously faced in the other sonatas. So Opus 14 is a step up from the previous sonatas, and you even have like a small cadenza in the Opus 14 number 1, so it is quite a different story. And definitely if you're advanced, then I would recommend you learn one of the 2 sonatas, preferably Opus 14 number 1 if you want more of a challenge. And then we have Opus 10 number 1. No, not the Chopin Etude, the Beethoven Sonata. So this has 3 movements and it takes about 18 to 20 minutes. So already you can see this is a full-sized, or what I would call a full-sized sonata with 3 movements. You have in the previous one, for example, Opus 14, they're about 15 minutes long. So this is the first one. Opus 10 number 1 is the first one that's full 20 minutes long, 3 movements, more technical challenges, more musical challenges. This is a full sonata, and if you feel like you can do it, this is probably the easiest full 3 movements 20-minute long sonata that you can play by Beethoven. And it's a great one, dedicated to Haydn. You have some added difficulties that you have not previously faced. So, and it's of course a famous and great piece. So Opus 10 number 1, if you're looking for a full-sized sonata, this is the one for you. And lastly, if you want to play a properly famous, popular sonata that is quite manageable, although not that easy, would be the Opus 13. So as you can see, we only covered a few sonatas, but we're already at the Pathetique. So Opus 13 is the Pathetique sonata, and yeah, it's one of the most famous sonatas by Beethoven, probably, along with, you know, like the other famous, like Upper Sonata, Waldstein, Hammerklavier, all of those. But it is a very famous sonata, and I would recommend, if you're more of an intermediate pianist, that you try it. The first movement is not particularly difficult. Actually, none of the movements by themselves are particularly difficult, but playing the whole thing gives you an added complexity, because you have, first of all, more technical challenges, then you have challenges of sound and pedaling and character, and how do you tie the whole sonata together. It is less streamlined than an Opus 10 number 1 or than an Opus 14 number 2. It has its own character. It's definitely more difficult to learn, more difficult to read, all of this. So Opus 13, the Pathetique, I would recommend if you are more of an advanced pianist, or if you just want a proper challenge, even though you're a beginner, you can look at it. And this brings me to my last point here, which is that it doesn't matter which sonata you learn. It doesn't matter if you learn a Haydn sonata, a Clementi and Mozart sonata, or a Beethoven sonata. You need to play the whole sonata, please. So I know this quite often from people who only play one movement and think they can play the sonata, or they will tell, yeah, I played the Pathetique sonata. Yeah, so did you play the whole thing? No, only the first movement. Guys, that doesn't count, okay? You need to play the whole sonata, because playing a full sonata is a different story than playing one movement. You need to play the whole thing, which brings new challenges. For example, can you play a proper second movement? And I will make videos on that, I'm sure. But you know, playing a full sonata and making it interesting and having all these contrasts in tempo, in articulation, in dynamics, in characters, is an added difficulty, and of course also tests your memory. So whatever sonata you go for, play the whole thing, not only one movement. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this list. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you want to get a lesson, check the link in the description, and please leave a like, and see you in the next video. Thank you.